Well, hey there team, welcome back to the channel and welcome to our new segment, Worth It Then, Worth It Now. Today we're having a look at Starship Troopers, Terran Command. And if I do this right, this is going up on my second channel. We might give it a go in the new year. Hello, welcome back, or welcome from across the aisle. Links all over the place, so you know where all my channels are, all two of them. But ultimately, for the last 12 months on the main channel, we've been doing a worth your time, worth your money category, and it's been very well received, and I've enjoyed the format. However, it doesn't leave a lot of room for revisiting things that I shouted out and that I want to signal boost yet again. YouTube can be quite fickle, recommending videos, etc., and there's a good chance that maybe you missed some of the earlier stuff. So I figured we'd give some of the best stuff a second go around, and it seems as good as an idea as any to put it on this second channel. I might move the dottage video across here as well before the category gets away from me. But my point is, we're looking at Starship Troopers Terran Command. This game is excellent. I reviewed it on the main channel. I've also looked at the DLCs. I think there's 2 of them. There may be more in the pipeline, I'm not sure. But it's cool, adding extra campaigns, a lot of cool content. But suffice to say, if you are a fan of Starship Troopers, you're insane to sleep on this. You should check it out. At the very least, wish list it. But if you enjoy more of a, look, I don't want to necessarily call it a strict RTS, right? The camera is fixed. It does have that unit movement thing, but it is more about kind of smaller numbers, positioning and maneuvering as opposed to like an economic throughput sort of thing. More of the sort of combat-focused component of an RTS over the base building. Soft comparisons that come to mind are things like War Game, right? Steel Division in a way, just to get you in that mindset. So ultimately, you do have bases, you have to capture them in that, but you don't really build your industry, other than building a couple of upgrades to enable which special units that you're going to have in a scenario, but that's about it. The game's very much focused in on the campaign. There are some other side modes, you know, sort of challenges, and they introduced in post-launch patches things like sort of wave defense modes, a bit more roguelike-y, I guess. But this isn't like StarCraft pitched battles 1v1 PvP or anything like that. It's very much a campaign experience. And it's excellent. But again, the caveats are there so you know what you're getting into. Before I even get into the mechanical component, the layer of Starship Trooper isms, I don't know what else to call it, but if you've seen the movies, if you're a fan of the movies, more recently, you know, in a contemporary example, Helldivers 2 very much taps that same very cheeky, laying it on thick and cheesy, winking at the camera, for freedom, for the nuclear family, that sort of stuff that's all come from the Verhoeven movie from the 90s. This captures that mouthfeel incredibly well. Whether it's in mission and the voiceovers, and you actually get fairly attached to your sort of sergeant running your squad or whatever his name is, and then this lieutenant, and they're bouncing off each other and talking about command, but then even, you know, you go up a layer to the cutscenes in between, and they have these really wonderful, painterly sort of still image cutscenes. You see that stuff more and more these days. But again, leaning into, you know, for freedom. You're trying to clear the minds of bugs to continue fighting the enemy, and it's the ore effort for the war effort. Like, it's just corny, and it's so good. You will have a shit-eating grin from ear to ear through the whole experience. So I just jumped back in to refresh my memory and chipped away at some missions here and there. You know, the core loop will be, you know, go out, do X objectives, push the narrative along. And it varies, right? From more set-piece moments that you've seen in movies, like having a base to defend and having to hold off waves, and, you know, more sort of desert setting with the mill prefab defenses. But then, you know, there's other ones, like I was doing one going through the mines with very small teams, tactical officer and a couple of squads, trying to fight through a much more strict corridor scenario in the underground. But I even remember one standout was this criminal was due for live execution at 6 p.m. all channels. Very of the movie. And his transport crashed on a bug planet. So they send you in to rescue him and bring him back so that he can, you know, not miss his broadcast. So it's all very cheeky and in-universe, and that's what I really love about this game. Ultimately, you can sort of blob move around in general, but picking the right tool for the right job is important as well. As the levels go on, there is like an escalation on the bug side, and they'll start to have new troopers introduced. You know, one of the first foils, for example, are these spitter bugs, and the best way to deal with them is have something like a sniper team that have a very long over-the-shoulder range, and you can set their priority of target. In fact, I think they might already by default aim for things like the spitters, because it very much captures that, you know, your whole squad is going to be hosing down one bug for 15 seconds to kill them. That power dynamic that you see in the movies that makes humans feel very small and weak and they only really win in numbers. Well, that becomes difficult when they've got their own, basically, backline snipers shooting into your dudes that your dudes can't really shoot at. So that's just one example. But then you get like tiger bugs, which are heavily armored, so you want to escalate yourself and bring anti-armor. And then the big, humongous monster dudes, and that becomes about sort of positioning, because they'll set you guys on fire, and if they stand still too long, that's it, they'll just cook. So often what's going on is you'll be pushing the carrot on the stick along, doing whatever mission there is. It's not uncommon for you to have a sort of base of operations that needs defending after a fashion. A most recent mission that I was just doing before was this power station, and I had to move around the map and capture all these little points, but if you just keep snowballing, which is the habit of many, I like to do it as well, it's kind of a junk food way to play these games. You just keep pushing your death ball from point A to point B. The bugs will send their own little recon forces and just take the bases because it's a capture area, and if you're not going to contest it, they'll just take it back. So it forces you to, you know, split your force or build turrets or come up with some sort of system, because your house of cards can fall over pretty quickly. In the aforementioned example, they took the base that had a lot of my supply bonuses, so I couldn't build engineers anymore because they took the base that allowed me to do that. And the engineers in turn build turrets, so it kind of pulled the rug out from underneath me. I had to go back and recapture it and then try and set a picket to look after it. So you'll have that sort of dynamism going on, keeps you honest, and keeps you spread about between moving through the map and objectives, but also having a kind of static emplacements to defend. The bugs also have a sort of spawn mechanic from bug hives, and you'll see they'll have a little indication. They essentially have I don't know what you would like to call it, a wave sitting there waiting to spit out. And, you know, maybe they have 3 pips above the bug hole, which means it's got 3 waves worth of dudes. So it's going to be a bit of a fight. So you send your dudes up close enough to trigger the wave, out come the bugs, and you'll already see it starts to have like a recharging bar. So it is infinite, but they have to recharge the wave. So essentially it is a standard, it is a pitched attrition battle where you'll have to go up, trigger the waves to come out of these bug holes, and as you wipe them, they'll pop out the next wave and the next one. And the hope is that you can deplete it entirely and then send your own troops into the cave to delete it full stop. Then it gets more complex. They'll have these sort of little side bug holes that are attached to the main one, and while you need to deplete them, you can't actually destroy them. And as the game goes on, it will become a bit of a puzzle box to solve, where you want to get to the main hole and you want to deplete and take it over. But along the way, it's probably got like 3-4 side little bug tunnels that have their own waves that also need to be managed while you work your way through. It's a really clever system, and it keeps you honest, and if you kind of misjudge it or you run out of steam, you get wiped, you get sent back to your base or whatever, the bugs will replenish as well. So there is a brute force on the pointy end in that you have to fight the attrition battle, and you probably want the correct team comp to overcome it, but if you can't seal the deal, then it will effectively reset. Actually, brute force isn't the best descriptor, because if you just try and steamroll through with the wrong stuff, you'll get wiped, they'll reset, and it will be back to the drawing board. Anyway, so there is some complexity, there is some nuance. Like I said, there's been some DLC added, and I've enjoyed both the campaigns, adding new characters, new settings. All in all, ridiculously fun game. And if for some reason you've missed it or slept on it, this is me shouting out, letting you know that you should get it. At the time of this recording, I don't believe it's on sale or special or anything like that. It just happens to be coming back around in my, covered it last 12 months. I'd like to cover it again. So at the very least, wish list it. Keep it in the back of your mind, because I highly recommend this game for everybody. Anyway, team, might just leave it there for the time being, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.